Welcome back to the Texas Agriculture Law YouTube channel. I'm Tiffany Lashmit. Today we're here to round up some of the biggest ag law issues that have been in the news for the month of July. No shortage of topics to cover today, so let's get started. Probably the biggest news came just recently last week. The EPA announced that it is going to propose to re-register the 3 over-the-top dicamba products. If you've been around my blog, podcast, or even this YouTube channel for a while, you might remember that there has been ongoing litigation and issues related to these over-the-top dicamba products that were previously approved for use over the top of cotton and soybean. Last year, those registrations were vacated after a court decision, and now the EPA is considering re-registering those. The news this month is that they have proposed to re-register them. They're currently taking comments on that proposed re-registration. Comments are live. You can make those comments through August the 22nd. The re-registration will come with some additional restrictions on application. There are a number of them listed in that pre-proposal document. One of the big ones is there will no longer be approval for any aerial application of the over-the-top dicamba products. They'll require a 240-foot buffer when applying, and you have to choose 3 mitigation options from the list of options that EPA has. So if you're interested in that, we'll link to the information on the proposed re-registration and the ability to comment in the notes below. The second thing, on July the 4th, President Trump signed what was called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Lots of different things are included in that bill that was signed. However, there are a number of provisions included in there that are typically included in the Farm Bill. So I just want to flag that. Things related to reference prices, information about SNAP, that typically you would see in a Farm Bill were passed through that One Big Beautiful Bill. For more details on that, we're going to have a podcast episode coming out in August with Dr. Justin Benavides. He is the chief economist for the House Ag Committee. He's going to come on and walk us through what was included in that bill that's pertinent to agriculture. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to the Ag Law in the Field podcast. We'll link to that in the notes below as well. Next up, we have just completed doing a lot of work related to carbon. So if you're someone who is interested in carbon markets, or if you're curious about it, or maybe if you think it's a bunch of hogwash, we have got folks with opinions on all sides of the carbon issue. We've got some great resources available that just sort of explain what is a carbon market. What are people paying for? How does the law work? What are we even talking about when we hear this topic in the news? I partnered up with Dr. Jordan Shockley at the University of Kentucky, who really is kind of the nationwide economic expert on carbon. And we have built out a suite of resources. We have a number of different fact sheets. We've got several different short videos that you can watch here on our YouTube channel that just walk you through some of these issues. We have a frequently asked questions video that I think is really useful. One interesting thing that we have in those videos, Jordan talks about how he foresees there being kind of a shift in carbon markets from carbon offsetting to carbon insetting. So again, if you don't even know what that means, don't worry. We've got lots of information to kind of walk you through what's going on and where we see things going. You can find those on the Texas Agriculture Law blog, or again, we'll link them in the notes below. Finally, our last topic we're going to hit on is Proposition 12. There have actually been a lot of happenings related to that over the last month, so let's walk through a couple of those. The first thing is the United States Supreme Court has denied cert, which means it will not hear the Iowa Pork Producers Council versus Bonta, which was a challenge brought by Iowa pork producers to Proposition 12. You might remember Proposition 12 is a law that was passed by California that says any pork sold in California, regardless of where it was produced, has to comply with certain animal confinement standards in California. There was a lawsuit about this that did make its way to the Supreme Court several years ago, and the court upheld the law on a dormant commerce clause challenge, at least how it was pled in that case. This Iowa pork producers case was kind of the follow-up to that. They pled some additional facts. They added some additional claims to their lawsuit. It was dismissed by the Ninth Circuit. The Iowa pork producers appealed or sought certiorari from the United States Supreme Court, but that was denied, which means that Ninth Circuit dismissal will stand. And at least under that case, the Proposition 12 law in California remains in effect. Additional happening in the last couple of weeks, the Trump administration, Department of Justice, has filed a lawsuit challenging the provision of Prop 12 that applies to egg-laying hens. And so what they have challenged that under is a preemption argument, and they say that there's a federal law related to egg production, specifically like things like grading and quality and labeling. And the Trump administration argues that that federal law preempts Proposition 12. So that lawsuit was just filed, and answer hasn't even come in yet. So very early in the stages, but that is something I wanted to point out as well. Lastly, there was a hearing last week at the United States House of Representatives Committee on Agriculture on Proposition 12 and kind of the impacts and implications of that law on agriculture around the country. And I got to be a witness at the hearing. So it was a really fascinating experience to get to go to DC, to testify before Congress, and talk through some of the legal issues related to Prop 12, which there are plenty. And it'll be interesting to see what happens now. The hearing was really kind of for Congress to decide if they want to take action and pass something that preempts or prohibits Prop 12 in California and or other states. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. If you're interested in that hearing or want to know more about it, I'll put a link to a blog post I did that includes my written testimony and a link to watch the hearing if that's something you are interested in. So with that, thank you so much for joining us on our YouTube channel. We'll be back in August with some additional information. We hope everybody has a great summer.